Hello there, this is Dana Arcuri, author, speaker, and wellness advocate from danaarcuri.com, and today's topic is of a sensitive nature. I'm just going to put a little FYI, potential trigger warning for some people who may have been a survivor of sexual assault or any kind of abuse. The topic for today is the ripple effect of one crime. So we have to understand that when there is a traumatic event that takes place, from there it could have a snowball effect that through the years just is like a tsunami, just a tsunami where everything just rips through your life, your health, your career, your family, your mind, your body, and on it goes. And so I'm going to share my story, and I'll give a little medical disclaimer that this is not to cure you, diagnose you, or give you a prognosis. Any medications and anything I speak about, this is my personal experience, and please educate yourself and advocate for you and your health and build awareness. And so I want to talk about August 2006 when my sister's husband sexually assaulted me. I didn't know at the time that it would have a snowball effect on my life. I am now, 13 years later, picking up the pieces of the trauma and of the devastation that has crumbled before me. It is absolutely horrifying, and I'm dealing with a roller coaster of emotions. I don't know that I'll ever move past this and be at peace. You know, my deepest prayer is that I will heal and that I will find peace, and just the whole thing with reducing the pain and reducing the symptoms. But I'll begin with the story and share the toll that this one crime, this one sin, this one evil action has absolutely devastated my life and everything in it. Okay, so in August 2006, I was sexually assaulted by my sister's husband. And it was something that at the time I did not go to counseling afterwards. I did not seek therapy or any form of support. I felt victim blamed and victim shamed from my sister and her husband. I felt like they also faith shamed me into believing that if I were just a good Christian and just forgive and forget, that everything would go back to the way it used to be. Well, here it is 13 years later, and I could guarantee you it's never been the same. My life has been turned upside down. My book, Soul Cry, is sharing the story, is sharing the aftermath of sexual assaults. And unfortunately, I've had more than one. But when I am just focusing on this particular event, this little space and time and what happened, I can understand that there has been far more harm, far more destruction than I would have ever imagined in my wildest dreams. After the sexual assault on that night, when I was trying to run away from the predator, who happened to be my relative, I accidentally slipped on the linoleum floor, fell on my back, and injured my spine and my low lumbar area. 3 months later, I was in so much pain, I couldn't walk, I couldn't work, I couldn't function. I knew I damaged my back. I knew that the night of the sexual assault, I injured myself, and that it wasn't just a little, oops, take a little ibuprofen and you'll be okay. I knew there was some kind of significant injury. So I went to the doctors in November 2006, and she had me first get an x-ray and then get an MRI, and then they diagnosed me with herniated discs. And from there, I landed in the hospital in the ER first, and then I was admitted because I was prescribed steroids, prednisone, and unfortunately it really caused great havoc on my gut health. And so the gastrointestinal surgeon said you can't have any steroids. They are so harmful to the GI system. And on top of it, I gained a lot of weight. So when you take steroids, don't be surprised if you gain weight. It's a very negative side effect. But I think the stomach issues were even worse. And so I stopped taking that medicine. And from there, I had chronic back pain and it wouldn't go away. And so in 2007, I started physical therapy after 1 year, and still in so much inflammation and so much chronic pain. And remember, I at the time felt that I had so much turmoil in my life. My book will share the details of it, but there was so much turmoil in my life that I did not believe I was able to speak the truth about this sexual assault. My family, especially my sister, silenced me for decades after decades. And so often victims are victim blamed. They're told it's your fault, you asked for it. Regardless that I told the truth and I told my sister what happened, she chose to believe her husband. She chose to believe that it was my fault. That's the furthest from the truth. And I know that God knows, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters to me. You know, I know the truth, and God knows the truth. And I could look at myself in the mirror. I could go to sleep at night and know that I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my fault. You know, so we have to understand that this whole nonsense with people blaming the victims of sexual assault and abuse, it's just nonsense. It's despicable and appalling. It's really gaslighting. We have to understand they want to control you. And if they can't control you, they'll try to control everything around you. They will try to censor you. They will try to silence you. I'm thankful today that I did break the silence. I'm thankful for that. But let's go back to the story that I was having a lot of back problems. And by 2008, it was January, and I went to the orthopedic surgeon. So he did more MRIs. He said, your back is even worse. He said, you have more herniated discs. You have scoliosis. You have advanced degenerative disc disease. And you need to go back into physical therapy. So I was, again, back in physical therapy, trying to do what the doctor ordered, taking Flexeril for anti-inflammatory, just, you know, hey. And I'm still holding down a job. I'm still, you know, a full-time, you know, mom, a part-time worker, volunteering at church. I had a lot going on in my life. I was a busy woman. And I never even faced the trauma yet. Did not get to that place yet to really address what happened to me. And I ended up 3 months later thinking something was still quite wrong. It wasn't just my back, but there was pain from head to toe. And I started feeling like achy in my shoulders and my back and different areas on my body. And so I went to a rheumatologist who did a lot of testing and so forth, and he diagnosed me with primary fibromyalgia. So he said, yes, you do have a bad back. Yes, you really do have a lot going on in your body with inflammation, but fibromyalgia is one of the things that's causing you such great pain, a lot of physical pain. And at that time, I didn't connect the dots, and there's a body-mind connection. Look into cellular memory, look into the body-mind connection, check out Dr. John Cerno's The Back Connection, and also the, let's see, he has another book to do with the prescription. Geez, I can't even think of the name of it. The point is, Dr. John Cerno's is awesome. He really connects the ripple effect of, you know, you have a trauma that happens in your life, you have something extremely devastating, something very traumatic, scary, painful. And what happens is your body will manifest the pain. So a lot of times our brain is so wise, it protects us from the trauma. So at the time of, say, a sexual assault or even a violent attack, say someone who's a victim of violence, they oftentimes, their brain will protect them, in which there's times you don't have every single memory. You can't remember everything. There's a lot of scientific proof about patients who end up having fragmented memories. It's very common with trauma patients. But the end result is that fibromyalgia is a manifestation of the sexual assault. This is the toll that is taken on my body, on my mind. And what happened? What happened was that in 2009, I was then told, hey, why don't you take some Balta? Well, that really was awful. That drug was terrible. I had negative responses to it. And for 1.5 years, I was battling with doctors trying to get them to taper me from it. And then they put a new drug on board. They prescribed Ativan, which is a benzodiazepine. And 1 month I lost my memory. I couldn't think straight. I forgot my birthday and my phone number, my address, and I started having more anxiety and insomnia. So I took the Ativan for insomnia and fibromyalgia, but yet it caused me more physical pain and worse insomnia. So we have to understand that just because a doctor prescribes medicine doesn't mean it's supposed to be long-term. Dr. Heather Ashton and all of the advocates and the doctors who are the pioneers of the benzodiazepine drug do say that that medication should never be taken long-term. After 2 short weeks of taking the smallest dose for the shortest amount of time, 2 weeks isn't really that long, but in 2 short weeks, patients become physically dependent. They could build up a tolerance. Once they build up a tolerance, they start going through wicked withdrawals. This is what happened to me, okay? So in 2010, my life just spiraled out of control. I landed back in the ER in August 2010. I was suicidal. They didn't care. They sent me home. They did nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is the ripple effect of the sexual assault from my brother-in-law. I ended up suicidal. Then what happened? My doctor, a new doctor, decided to taper me off of some Balta, but it went haywire, totally haywire. And I ended up attempting suicide on November 2nd, 2010. By the grace of God, I'm alive today. I thank God for that. Hey, he used me, he used my story, he's changing my life, and he's not only helping me heal, he's helping thousands upon thousands of other people who are getting hope and healing through me. So I could see that there's a positive here. I could be thankful and have gratitude, but it doesn't take away the toll on my life, the toll on my body. It doesn't take away the ripple effect of this one crime, this one sin, this one evil action that stole my life, stole my mind, stole my body. It took away my ability to parent, my ability to work. I couldn't work. I had to go on Social Security disability. I had trouble in my marriage. It impacts your relationships. When you're taking medication, such as benzodiazepine and some Balta, and then they added on top gabapentin, Prozac, Adderall, and Cipro. And if you're thinking, wow, that's crazy, yeah, it really is crazy. I look back at this shipwreck and I think, what were the doctors thinking? What were they thinking? Why? Why did they do that? Why did they not support me? So I had a really bad situation. I was a sexual assault survivor who was really devastated and still going through just the horrific flashbacks and nightmares from my trauma. Okay, and that wasn't even dealt with yet. And now on top of it, I have the back problems, the fibromyalgia, then I have the drug problems, then I'm thrown into wicked withdrawals from benzos and some Balta, which, landed me back in the hospital. So I'm back in the hospital, January 2011. And that damn doctor, negligent, abruptly stopped Ativan, which is a benzodiazepine, in 4 short days. That is absolutely fraudulent. It is manipulative. It is despicable. It is malpractice. I mean, I'm saying it like it is. I personally would have sued him if I had that opportunity. My situation was complex. There were too many drugs on board. Trust me, I checked for lawsuits. It was a dead end. But where did this lead me? Then it left me in 2011 all the way through now, 2019, of trying to heal. You know, it wasn't until 2017 when the Me Too movement really grew like wildfire, especially on Twitter. And I started realizing, wow, I was really traumatized. I really have a lot going on in my life, physically and emotionally, and so many different things because of that one crime, that one sin, that one evil action that my brother-in-law chose. And we have to understand that there is a toll that victims pay. You know, it is absolutely horrifying to think that my sister and her husband can say, you know, just be a good Christian. Just forgive. Just forget. Move on. Let it go. Do you understand when it comes to sexual assault, when it comes to the aftermath of a violent crime, you do not move on? Do you understand that the body keeps the score? For the rest of my life, my body from head to toe alerts me to the trauma. I have flashbacks. I have nightmares. I have times where my body hurts like hell. I'm not 100% better. I'm grateful I'm alive. I could have easily died. I mean, I tried to commit suicide, people. I took an overdose. And, you know, I didn't want to literally kill myself. In defense of what I did, the reality is most people who are in pain, who attempt suicide, they just want to stop the pain. They just want to stop the furnace of affliction and the turmoil and the flashbacks and the nightmare and the chronic pain that haunts them 24 hours around the clock. I could say that as I look at this and I realize that, you know, I've recently, early, you know, in the summer, June 2019, was then diagnosed with complex PTSD. And I was told by the therapist, you know, you have compounded trauma, just so much. It's not just one thing. It's not even just that one crime. There's other crimes that were committed. I mean, I'm a survivor of statutory rape when I was 15 and child abuse. That's a whole other story in itself. But the point is that we have this ripple effect. It impacts our ability to function, our ability to work, our ability to have relationships. I lost so much because of my brother-in-law, and I did lose my family. So my family and I, birth family, siblings and mother, were no contact. I don't have any regrets of going no contact. I prayed about it for many, many, many years. And once you realize that people are gaslighting you, they don't value you, they're silencing you, they're saying you're the problem, they're denying what happened, they're protecting and defending the predator, they're protecting different people who have hurt me, they lie and yet they twist it and they call me the liar, they're crazy yet they call me crazy. Do you understand? This is toxic people. You know, dysfunctional families are so unhealthy. And for me to really seek freedom and peace of mind, I needed to cut the ties of toxic relationships. And I have no regrets. I have no regrets. God knows my heart. God knows what I've gone through. And I know the truth, and so does God. I could look in the mirror and sleep at night. I question how my siblings, and especially my brother-in-law, think that they're off scot-free. Where's the repentance? Where's the repentance? You know, there's a big thing in the Bible that talks about forgiveness, but repentance comes first. Repentance comes first. You might want to check that out. If you are a survivor of child abuse, sexual assaults, domestic violence, understand that sometimes for you to heal, for you to really move forward, you first need to reconnect all the dots. You know, this whole thing where you go back to the trauma, you go back to the event that devastated and just took a toll on your life and had this snowball effect. And once you start connecting the dots year to year to year to year, then you could really understand why you might be facing, say, depression or anxiety or panic attacks, or why you're having nightmares, or why you're having problems with inflammation, or you have memory loss, or you have all these other problems. You know, a lot of times it helps to really reflect, you know, just reflect on the past, make peace with this whole thing that survivors are not at fault. It's not your fault that someone hurt you. It's not your fault that someone committed a crime. It's not your fault that someone's evil and they intentionally set out to try to control you and power over you. Sexual assault is not a crime of sex. It's a crime of control. They want to have power over you. Okay? So we have to understand that healing begins by retracing our steps, being present, revisiting those old wounds, being honest with ourselves, being transparent, focusing on self-care, self-love, self-respect, creating healthy boundaries, and getting our voice. And when we get our voice, we raise our voice and we say no more, no more. You know, I am not a victim anymore. I am a survivor. I am healing. I'm on a wonderful path. It's holistic, it's natural, and I'm working through the devastation that's behind me. And today I just pray this could give you hope, and I just ask you to continue working on yourself, focus on you and your healing, and understand that you have brighter days ahead. You really do. If you'd like more information or you'd like to connect with me, go to danaarcuri.com. Thanks and have an awesome day.